Hey friends, so here's a pretty new tire. Only has a few thousand miles on it, and as you can see here, we're already down to the belting. Not quite down to the steel cables, but we've made it through all 4 plies. And if we take a look at the wear indicators, I just saw them a second ago. Here's some. Past the wear indicator, past the wear indicator. But then here on the outside, for both these last 2 sections, we have about 2.5 millimeters. So this was an alignment issue. I had replaced a bunch of parts on the front end, and the alignment was never 100% to begin with. I didn't have much time, and well, the local alignment shop always gives me a hassle, so here's a quick little DIY on how one can do it themselves. The adjustment is right here. If you follow the tie rod end, right before it gets into the rack and pinion, we have this adjustment here. You just simply loosen the lock nut and then put a wrench on this part, and you can move the wheel back and forth. And I'll show you in just a minute how to do that with just a piece of string and some stationary jacks. So simply put, here's the string method of alignment. I've got a little stand back here. Usually people use jack stands, and another one at the front. And the idea is to keep the string taut and touching the sidewall of the tires, which means just below any kind of skirts, etc. So as you can see here, you're just touching the sidewall, and by touching, it is barely touching. Get my dirty hand in the picture. You can see it's just barely kissing the side of the sidewall of the tire. So it's now in a perfectly straight line, since it's just barely touching the rear, which are non-adjustable. And if we follow that up to the front, we can then use that adjustment for the tie rod and adjust it until both of these are also perfectly, just barely touching. If you have rims that come out like this and or plastic skirts, then you may have to go lower, but going higher is a little better. Now, the one part that I didn't mention when showing the string was that it's imperative that the steering wheel not be touched when moving from the one side to the other. Center the steering wheel so it's just right, then do the one side, and then do the other side. Don't touch the steering wheel, although in the course of adjustment the steering wheel will move, so then it needs to be recentered and done again. Sometimes this takes a couple passes, but now let's go for a drive around the neighborhood and see what happens. Welcome to Philadelphia, man on a horse. This abandoned gas station is where I usually go to test out repairs. It's nice and bumpy, and there's no one in it. The first test for an alignment is whether or not the car tracks straight, or does it veer off to one side. And we track straight, so that's good. The other thing is whether or not we can turn full lock and listen for screeching. And now we're going to turn full lock the other way. And especially over bumps, full lock to full lock, you would hear a lot of screeching if the alignment was pretty bad. But it seems good. The last test is auto center. The wheel centering itself is a feature of alignment, so we're going to turn all the way. I'm going to go straight. And sure enough, the wheel centered itself like it's supposed to. We're going straight, a little bit of adjustment required. Not perfect, but we also didn't do it on a $10,000 machine. So that's how to do an alignment yourself for free with some basic hand tools and probably half an hour worth of labor.